Hi folks, John with the Wingman115 channel. Thank you so much for checking in. Today, I'm excited to bring you another Gauntlet review. Today's Gauntlet review is going to be on the SLYSTEEL C.U.M.A Lone Survivor Knife. Now, for folks that follow along on the channel, a while back when I was at SHOT Show 2015, I showcased this blade, and Waysun Johnny Tsai, the designer of the Lone Survivor, gave a brief description of this. I talked to Oliver a while back. He decided to throw this blade into the Gauntlet and let it take its turn throughout all the other YouTubers, and I'm glad to have it today so I can introduce it to you. Now, you guys know that I love unique blades. I just love unique profile blades, and this certainly fits the bill. Now, what I'm going to do, as usual, I'm going to put it on the tabletop. We'll do a quick specs rundown. Then I'm going to put this knife through the paces, and then I'll come back and I'll give you either a thumbs up or a thumbs down rating on this blade. You're not going to want to miss it, folks. Come along. Let's try to make a feather stick with this blade. Now, being that it's a Kukri design with a recurve, traditionally they're very good slicers. So let's see how it's going to work out doing some feathers. Now, I don't sharpen these blades before I do these knife reviews. What you see is just right out of the box. So you just get a fair and unbiased opinion of how this blade's going to perform just right from the manufacturer, right from the get-go. Not bad. Now, if I had to be around camp, and I'll stand off here to the side so you can see a little bit better, and we're just doing some regular tasks around camp, so I'm sitting here and I have to make some tinder on the quick. Just some nice long curls. Let's test out the saw. Sometimes you might be required to make traps, or you might be doing some sort of campcraft where you're making some sort of implement to work with around camp, and you might need to score something, or say you got to score some bone to get that marrow out. It's a survival situation. That saw is very, very aggressive. So if you need to do notches, make little mortise and tendons, make dovetails, I mean, you could really do that. Did a great job. So the saw, as always. Now, this is from SLYSTEEL, but remember, TOPS Knives makes this, so you know that these knives are going to be bomb-proof. They're differentially heat-treated. So the leading cutting edge is going to be a little bit harder than the body of this blade. That's unique. It gives it a little bit of flex in that blade, which makes it really nice. If you're batoning and you got a piece of wood that's curved, there's a lot of twist and figure in that wood, well, most knives, if they're not differentially heat treated, will probably snap. I've never had a problem with a blade that's manufactured by TOPS. and they stand by a lifetime warranty. Let's see how well it's going to do if I had to put a little point on this for whatever reason. Say I'm doing a tent peg, or I'm making some sort of camp project that required a point on a stick. Now, this being a Kukri design, you know it's going to be a great chopper because there's a lot of forward momentum because you have that big body on the front of the blade. So it's going to work really well as a chopper. And I must say that I've been playing around with this for a while, and the handle for my hand feels really well. I feel secure. There's enough of a finger guard here. I'm not worried that my hand's going to slip and fall into there. And that back seat grip on the blade is really secure too. Let's take it over to a log and let's see how well it's going to chop. Let's test it out cutting one of these limbs down. Folks, I'm going to tell you right now, this blade is a beast of a cutter. As I'm swinging, there's enough forward energy, and with that Kukri design, it just chopped right through there. And I'm talking nice clean chops too. Just awesome, awesome chopping. Got to try it out on something else. Let's try sawing this limb. Now, I have to understand that this is a knife. It's not a saw, but you want to know if the blade's going to hold up. If you're in a situation where you might have to make a shelter and you have to cut some limbs, or you're notching. Worked great. Now, the coating did kind of slow it down a little bit. I understand that. But if you're in a wet environment, you're in a humid environment, you're going to need some protection on this 1095 high carbon steel. But these saw teeth are really sharp. For this next test, Oliver, you need to be sitting down. Johnny, you need to be sitting down as well. What I'm going to do is test the heat treat on this blade. Now, I don't advocate doing this at home, but I want to show folks that this heat treat is going to live up to what it says. So without further ado, here's 195 pounds on that blade. I have to give that a pass. Now, no test would be complete if your knife had a bottle opener and you didn't test to make sure that it would open your favorite adult beverage. Mission accomplished. Now for some final thoughts and rating on this SLYSTEEL C.U.M.A Lone Survivor blade. First off, I want to thank Oliver over at SLYSTEEL, and I want to thank Waysun Johnny Tsai, the designer of this blade. You know, it takes a lot of guts to throw what I want to call your baby into the gauntlet, because you never know how the gauntlet reviewers are going to act when they get one of your items. Well, I'm here to tell you, Oliver and Johnny, you did a great job on this blade. I love Kukri-style blades, and just so you folks know that this blade is made by TOPS Knives for SLYSTEEL and designed by Waysun Johnny Tsai. So you know, with TOPS Knives, the differential heat treat is going to be spot on. The 3/16 1095 high carbon steel, and look at that. I beat that knife into a log and it's still straight. Now, public service announcement, I do not advocate pounding your blades and stepping on them at all. Please, I do that in these reviews to illustrate how well these knives are going to hold up in a life or death situation that may arise. This knife held up to the task. Now, this knife is going to travel along to some of my fellow YouTubers that are in the Gauntlet. So you're going to want to follow along this knife in its travels, and you can do that by following along on the Gauntlet.TV. I'll leave a link in the description below on how to track the progress of this blade. With that said, you're probably thinking, John, let's get to a rating. Well, we only do 2 ratings in the Gauntlet. It's either a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Based on what you've seen, the chopping capability, the slicing, I really love that recurve in the belly of that Kukri-style blade. The handles, they fit spot on. It's just narrow enough here to where your index finger and thumb can hook up and you get a nice rocking pendulum motion for chopping. The scales are profiled and rounded just enough where there's no hot spots. You know that I don't like to wear gloves when I'm out working. And I've been beating around with this knife all day. It's just been holding up, working great. My hand isn't raw. There's no hot spots. Just the handle feels well. The blade, yeah, it's a little bit heavy. It's a big piece of steel, but I'm a big fan of big knives. You guys know that. I have the Tahoma. I have the Hawks Hellion. I'm just a fan of big, unique looking blades, and this knife fits the bill. So with my rating, I have to give it a thumbs up based on the quality, the design. It did everything that I asked it to do. Folks, this knife is going to travel along to the next YouTuber. I don't know who that is yet, but I will put a link in the description below to that YouTuber. And you're going to want to follow this knife as it makes its way through the Gauntlet. Once again, thank you, Oliver, over at SLYSTEEL. I know that it takes a lot of courage to throw one of your items into the Gauntlet, and I thank you so much for doing that. I also want to give a shout out to Waysun Johnny Tsai, the designer of this badass looking blade. He also designs a bunch of other blades, and I'll leave a link to his survival school in the description below and a link to his Facebook page. You're going to want to check it out. Johnny Tsai is one cool dude. So with that said, this is John from the Wingman115 channel doing a Gauntlet review. I look forward to seeing you on the next video. Take care, folks.